Hello and welcome to Unpacking Terms. The term we're going to be unpacking today is drills, grammar drills specifically. And many things have been written about drills, but today I'm going to present the abridged, simplified version of the work by Wilga Rivers and Christina Paulston, although I will also mention other scholars too. What is a drill? A drill is a language-focused exercise that aims to promote habit formation. And the overarching goal is to fix language control problems one at a time. So it isolates a specific structure and it drills it until the right habits are formed. Drills tend to be repetitive and form tends to be prioritized over meaning. Paulston proposed three main categories of drills. And I guess you could say that they're in some sort of a continuum because sometimes the boundaries are not super clear and sometimes drills can be mixed. They can have elements of different types of drills. What all drills have in common, though, is that there is no purpose other than to practice. That is the purpose of a drill, to form the right habits. In order to put them in different categories, these are the three questions that we take into account. First, do students need to pay attention to meaning? Then, who is in control of the response, the student or the teacher? And finally, is there only one possible correct answer or more than one? The first type of drills that Paulston proposes is the classic mechanical drill. In a mechanical drill, students do not have to pay attention to meaning. The teacher is in control of the response and there is only one possible correct answer. For example, in a substitution drill, the teacher might say something like, I have one dog, and the students are expected to say, I have two dogs. So they substitute one for two, and then they make the plural form of the noun. And that will apply to any other noun. The teacher will say, I have one book, I have two books. Meaning doesn't matter. The students are not required to understand what the teacher is saying. And what they are saying doesn't matter either. The only thing that matters is to practice forming the plural. The second type of drill is a meaningful drill. As the name implies, the students need to pay attention to meaning, but the teacher is still in control of the response, meaning that the teacher already knows what the response is. And although there is one possible correct answer, it could vary slightly. For example, in the case of display questions, these are questions that teachers ask even though they already know the answer to them. Where is the book? It's on the shelf. Where is the pencil? It's on the table. There is no purpose for asking these questions other than to practice. Perhaps to drill prepositions. The students need to understand the question in order to answer. If they don't understand what where is the book means, they won't be able to answer. But the teacher already knows where the book is, so the teacher is still in control of the answer. And there is one correct answer expected. It's on the shelf. Could it vary slightly? Could the student say the book is on the shelf? Sure. The last type of drill is a communicative drill, where the students need to pay attention to meaning. The students are the ones in control of the response, meaning that the teacher doesn't know exactly what the student will respond. And there could be more than one possible answer. Wilga Rivers described communicative drills as self-expression. The classic example of a communicative drill is a series of open-ended questions targeting a specific structure. The students can answer by providing information that is true for them. For example, how many siblings do you have? I have 2 siblings. How many dogs do you have? I have 4 dogs. The teacher doesn't know what the student will say. The student is in control of the information they are providing. But once again, there's no purpose for collecting this information. This is just to practice, most likely to practice the verb to have. Another example of a communicative drill is a chain drill, where many elements are kept the same. It is a drill. It is repetitive and is meant to drill a specific pattern. But the students can tailor part of the information, their name, and what they like to do. So one student starts, my name is Anna and I like to watch TV. What about you? The next person goes, my name is Mary and I like to read. The next person, my name is John and I like to run, etc. There is no purpose for exchanging this information. It is just to practice drilling this pattern. So where do drills come from? Why are we doing drills? The answer is behaviorism. The thought that language is behavior, and behavior can be learned only by inducing the student to behave. If you cringed a little bit when you read that quote, you're not alone. Contrast that with this quote by Larson Freeman that we unpacked in episode 14 of Unpacking Articles. Learners or users of a language actively transform their linguistic world. They do not merely conform to it. So you see the contrast very clearly. Conformity, that is drills, and creativity, communication. So are drills helpful at all? Well, helpful for what? For memorization of patterns? Sure. For developing communicative ability? Doubtful. Even Wilga Rivers, who advocated for the use of drills, she admits that students trained merely to manipulate materials are usually at a loss for words when expected to make up their own utterances. And even Robert de Keyser, who is a big proponent of practice for language development, admits that drills that consist of repetitive manipulation of form do not teach the students to engage in the target behavior of conceptualizing a meaning and expressing it through linguistic means, let alone doing so in creative ways. The key thing here is meaning. Mechanical drills, as we saw, can be done without paying any attention to meaning. So the consensus is that mechanical drills have very little value for language development if our goal is to develop communicative ability in the target language. From an affective perspective, a drawback of drilling or doing drills is that it induces tedium and a distaste for language learning. Even in the 70s, they were saying that. So, what about communicative drills? Well, it's true that the learners are expressing meaning and they're expressing themselves. The issue with communicative drills is that the purpose is still not to communicate, but to practice. Paulston said, "We are still working on habit formation." And in a practical sense, without a communicative purpose, how do we know that the students are paying any attention to meaning? This is particularly true in paired communicative drills, which are very common in textbooks. And we unpack them in an episode of Unpacking Activities. Paired communicative drills involve students asking each other a series of questions. But what happens if a student just answers randomly? Like, how many siblings do you have? Yes. It doesn't seem to matter because they don't need that information for anything, so they can just keep going. Or what if the student doesn't even understand the question? How many wugs do you have? Well, it doesn't matter if I'm truly understanding the question or not. Let me just say a random number and we can just keep going. There is no purpose for exchanging this information. Nobody will use it for anything. Now, let me clarify something. This isn't about being anti-grammar or advocating for activities to be completely unstructured. The issue is not with structured practice. The issue is with the lack of focus on meaning. If our goal is to help students develop communicative ability in the target language, and if we define communication as the interpretation and expression of meaning, then let's make sure that meaning is intentionally and purposefully involved in all the activities we do. It all comes down to prioritizing meaning-making over mastering. Drills are like paint by numbers. They might give you a sense of accomplishment or that you're working towards a goal, but at the end of the day, it's still about conformity and not creativity. There's still much more to unpack, so be sure to subscribe. Thank you for tuning in, and until next time.